Welcome to Sunday Edition. I'm Dennis Woltering. The trial of 5 current and former New Orleans police officers charged in the Danziger Bridge shooting that left 2 people dead and 4 others injured starts this week. We have expert analysis of what's at stake and what prosecutors will have to prove. Also, the guild that has supported Le Petit Theater for more than half a century has gone to court to block the planned sale of a portion of the theater building to a group that wants to open a restaurant in part of the building. And a nonprofit reform group comes up with a proposal to return city schools now run by the Recovery School District to local control with safeguards to protect reforms and to encourage further improvements. Under rules now in place, the failing city schools, which the state took over, are slated to return to local control in a couple of ways. When the school meets required performance standards and votes to return to the Orleans School Board, or when the Orleans School Board successfully submits a plan to take back and turn around a failing school. But since a lot of people blame the Orleans School Board for a big part of what went wrong with the schools in the first place, many are, at the very least, uneasy about returning schools to that kind of local control. So the nonprofit reform group Educate Now has examined the issue and come up with a proposal. Here to tell us about that, the founder of the nonprofit group Educate Now and a former member of the State Board of Education, as well as a former member of the Orleans School Board, Leslie Jacobs. Leslie, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about the plan, the proposal.
The plan looks, the proposal Educate Now put out is really 3 component parts. When we talked about governance, people don't want the mayor to control it. They don't want it going back to Orleans Parish School Board as it is. They don't want the schools staying in Baton Rouge under Bessie. They want it back to local control and no one can define it. So what Educate Now convened a very broad group to study this for many months. And the first thing this group did is it set out a set of principles of what do we need in a governance model. It identified what government needs to do, because we now, next year, will have 75% of students in charter schools. We don't need a big central lobby. 75%. 75%. Yeah. I mean, we are a system of schools, and charter schools are our public schools educating our public school children. And then it came up with the model. And the model really recognizes, and I'm oversimplifying, but there's 3 really key functions. There is operating schools, chartering schools, and what I call the resource manager. Who decides how the money's allocated between the students and kids? Who decides who get what facilities? And right now, if you turn it back to the Orleans Parish School Board, they're doing all 3 functions. And the way to say it is they operate schools. You ask them to approve their competition and then allocate resources fairly between them. It doesn't work. It's not working now. It's like you refereeing a game that your child is playing in. It's just not fair. So what this model does is it untangles those roles. It keeps an elected school board, a very powerful elected school board. It does everything, but it cannot operate a school, and it cannot interfere in the operations of a school. It allocates the money. It assigns the facilities. It sets the policies for the system as a whole. It decides the numbers and types of schools that are necessary. It makes rules so all children are served. It communicates so we quit having these wars about what's fact and what's not. It handles the elected officials. It does the lobbying in Baton Rouge, but it doesn't operate a school. It doesn't charter a school.
So you have an elected school board, which would be provide the oversight, basically.
It's an elected school board that provides the stewardship for the system of schools as a whole. It can set school quality. Then you have 2 other boards, and they're appointed.
Under that elected board?
Well, the model actually have arrows going all the way because it's more balanced than a subservient relationship. You have an appointed charter oversight board. They approve charters, they make certain they're doing what they're supposed to do, they renew them, they revoke them. Then you have a board that's responsible for running the traditional direct run schools. It will do the hiring, it will do the personnel functions, the curriculum, the calendar for those set of schools. And so these 3 entities, you've separated out the roles. So now you have a policy board with real teeth, and then you have charter and you have direct run. This elected governing board shouldn't care if a school is direct run or chartered. They should care that it's a quality school, that it's performing. They have the right to step and think of it like a mini Bessie. If they set standards for schools and the schools aren't performing, they can say, close the school, give the school to the other oversight board, bring in new management. And they're not trying to pick amongst their children. They're really what I call an honest broker. They're looking at this whole landscape.
But I would imagine you're going to face opposition to this. any change faces opposition, and the Orleans School Board wants it pretty much the way it is, don't they?
They do. I would tell you there's oppositions on both sides.
Okay.
You have some charter schools who are a little bit reluctant because this model impinges some on their autonomy. Because this elected board is a rule maker. They make rules to make certain all students are served. That's special needs kids. That's mid-year enrolls. Then you have the people who want a traditional, single elected school board. I answer it this way, Dennis. I don't believe, part of this isn't just a New Orleans discussion. To do anything requires passing a law in Baton Rouge. Bessie has adopted a policy that said the schools will stay there for another 5 years. If we want to bring them back to local control, we have to pass a law.
Almost out of time. So you wanted to start the conversation with this.
Correct.
What happens next?
Well, the mayor said in the State of the City address that he wanted to engage the public in a conversation return to schools. There are groups out there. I think this model gets discussed, gets vetted, may get changed, but it moves the conversation forward.
All right. Leslie Jacobs, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.